Have you ever noticed how the crown jerks always seem to come out on top in life? They have the charm, the confidence, and of course the supernatural ability to make any woman fall head over heels for them. Meanwhile, you, the nice guy, are sitting on the sidelines, holding her purse and praying someone remembers you exist. A depressing spectacle, right? Well, it is, but it's no coincidence. There's a trick, a formula, a way of acting that turns these professional bad boys into attention magnets. They might be arrogant, egocentric, or even complete emotional disasters, but somehow they've got that something. And you know what's worse? It works. Now, the million-dollar question. Why does this happen? Do women really like men like that? Or is there a deeper psychological phenomenon at play? And better yet, can you steal their strategy without turning into a total jerk? Spoiler alert, you can, but you'll have to give up your moral high ground. Today, we're going to dissect this zoo of bad boys to find out what they're doing so right, where you're messing up big time, and how to turn the tables. And before you ask, yes, you can do this without burying the remaining bits of your dignity. Quick heads up. If you want to stay in your comfort zone, this talk might not be for you. But if you're ready to hear some truths that might mess with your head, for the better, of course, welcome to a reality check. Oh, and before we dive in, let me be straight. This video is here because a savvy person had the decency to like and subscribe before you did. Now it's your turn. Click that like button, subscribe, and drop a thanks in the comments. It's not for me. It's for the algorithm gods, because only then will YouTube know you need more of these painful yet educational truths. Enough with the small talk. Let's get to the meat of it. Bad boys! Those emotional summer hits that stick in your head even when you try to pretend they don't. Have you ever looked at one of these guys and thought, what the hell does this dude have that I don't? Because let's be honest, while you're at the back of the metaphorical party, managing someone's Spotify of feelings, he's on stage, stealing the show with half a dozen pickup lines and a side smile. Want a practical example? That friend of yours, yes. That one who seemed more washed up than a motel light during the day, but always came out with the most interesting girl in the group. And no, before you try to console yourself, it's not about looks, money, or Herculean effort. The brutal truth. It's all about attitude. In the social science of human interactions, this translates to assertive behavior, self-confidence, and the ability to shape perceptions. Now, the big takeaway from these guys isn't that they're relationship gurus with PhDs in seduction, because, let's be honest, most barely know how to cook rice. They just understand the game, not the love game, but the psychological one. They know how to spark curiosity, maintain emotional tension, and create a gravitational field that attracts attention. This isn't an innate talent. It's almost an empirical study of how human behavior responds to specific stimuli. So, let's make one thing clear. I'm not saying you need to go around replicating a typical bad boy's modus operandi. The point isn't to be like them, but to learn from them. There are strategic elements in their behavior that can be used ethically and intelligently to improve how you present yourself and connect with others. Now that the stage is set and you know who's who on the board, let's dive into what really matters, the secrets that make these guys seem so irresistible. Get ready, because here begin the lessons that separate the players from the emotional extras. Reason 1. Unshakable confidence. If there's one thing bad boys masterfully dominate, it's the confidence show. It doesn't matter if behind that king of the world pose there's a financial or emotional disaster unfolding, they show nothing. It's all about perception, my friend. They walk into a place with that "I've arrived to solve your lives" attitude, and the magic happens. People believe it. Confidence isn't perfection, it's performance. While you're wasting half an hour analyzing in the mirror if your belt matches your shoes, the bad boy has already crossed the entire room with a side smile and zero worries. Because for him, the only thing that needs to match is the audacity with his stage presence. This confidence is almost a social spell. He might be broken, screwed up, or have just had an epic fail, but none of that shows. He operates like an actor in the lead role of his own life. And here's the cherry on top. This attitude is contagious. When someone exudes security, the people around them not only believe in them, but start seeing them as an anchor of stability. And let's be honest, who doesn't like a safe harbor, even if it's imaginary? Now, let's face the facts. Maybe you spend more time obsessing over your potential mistakes than actually living. Meanwhile, the bad boy is out there, riding the wave of who cares. He understands something you haven't yet. People trust those who seem to trust themselves. Simple as that. Want the moral of the story? Confidence is less about being and more about seeming. So, next time you walk into a room, ditch the mental map of what could go wrong and put on the face of, I'm the best thing that ever happened in this room. You don't need to believe it, you just need to make others believe it. And why does this work so well? Because confidence alone is just the beginning. The real charm of the bad boy is that he combines it with an aura of mystery. And that's what we'll talk about in the next chapter of this life-hacking lesson. Reason 2, the power of mystery. If confidence is the key that opens the door, mystery is the lock that keeps people outside, trying to figure out what's inside. Bad boys are masters of the I'll show you just enough to keep you curious game. They've understood something simple and brilliant. Revealing everything is boring. And let's be honest, who wants to be an open book when you can be an enigma? Want a classic example? The guy who, when asked what he does for a living, responds with a cheeky smile and oh, I do a bit of everything. He's not being humble or discreet, he's playing the game, and the game is simple. The less you say, the more others think. The human mind hates gaps and loves filling empty spaces with interesting assumptions. And guess what? These assumptions are usually better than reality. Mystery not only keeps attention, but creates a ripple effect. The person isn't thinking about who he really is, but what he could be. And that's where the bad boy shines, letting others do the heavy lifting of idealizing him. He never reveals everything because he knows unfinished stories are what keep the audience hooked. Now look at yourself. Are you turning your life into a live TED Talk, giving everything away in the first 5 minutes? Maybe, in the eagerness to seem interesting, you're killing the mystery before it even begins. And that's, my friend, like spoiling the movie's ending in the introduction. No one will stick around till the end. The lesson here? Not everything needs to be said, and not every silence needs to be filled. Sometimes the best move is to leave a question hanging, give a vague answer, and let the other person burn calories trying to decipher you. And you know what makes this even more effective? Bad boys aren't afraid of no. While you're stuck in the paralysis of trying to please, they keep moving forward, free from any attachment. And it's this resistance to rejection that we'll discuss in the next chapter of this bad boy doctorate lesson. Reason 3, indifference to rejection. If there's one thing bad boys excel at, it's the art of not caring about a no. To them, rejection isn't a catastrophe, a reflection of self-worth, or a reason to spiral into an existential crisis. It's just an, oh cool, who's next in line? This lightness, which many see as indifference, is actually a strategy that screams emotional self-sufficiency. And guess what? That's an attention magnet. While you're there wasting hours crafting the perfect approach to avoid any chance of a no, the bad boy has already gone, tried, got knocked down, and moved on with the same ease as someone who ordered the wrong coffee at a cafe. He knows life is a numbers game. The more he tries, the more chances he has to succeed. But the trick isn't just about quantity, it's about posture. Notice this. When someone isn't shaken by rejection, 2 things become evident. He has options. If he isn't devastated by a no, it's because that response isn't the center of his universe. And that makes everyone wonder, if he doesn't need this, what or who else is in the picture? He doesn't need validation. It sounds like extreme confidence, even if it's just a facade. and confidence is irresistible. When someone doesn't rely on others' approval, people naturally become more interested. Now, compare this to how you handle rejection. Maybe you avoid any possibility of hearing a no as if it were a personal failure certificate. And guess what? That fear shows in every gesture, making it clear that you're more focused on not messing up than on trying. The big truth? Rejection is part of the game, and the less weight you give it, the lighter and more attractive you appear. So, next time you hear a no, channel your inner bad boy, shrug it off, smile, and move forward as if nothing happened. And speaking of moving forward, the next reason is a lesson on how these guys create an emotional whirlwind that keeps people hooked on them. Hold on, because things are about to get intense. Now listen up, emotional roadside mascot. Tired of being her ego's snack, the one who accepts crumbs and still smiles like he just won the lottery? Well, enough of that nonsense. Today is the day you hang up the official doormat badge and decide you're no longer going to be kicked around like an old shoe. Check this out. There's a digital book waiting for you in the description. And it's not just any junk. It's to teach you how to become a challenge, how to get out of that I'm too nice vibe, and finally put any woman in her place when she crosses the line. No pity, no beating around the bush, and most importantly, no whining in the corners. This book is the death certificate of the guy who lowered his head for everything, and the birth certificate of the dude who simply doesn't care if she doesn't respect him. Simple as that. Reason 4, creating intense emotions. If there's one thing bad boys understand better than anyone, it's that the key to attraction lies in emotions, not logic. They're not worried about appearing as the ideal partner or the model of emotional stability. Their focus is on provoking sensations. And, my friend, they do this with the precision of a surgeon and the instinct of an illusionist. Think about the last time someone made your heart race. Now remember what caused it. It was probably something unexpected, an out-of-the-ordinary move, something you couldn't predict. Yep, bad boys master this art. They send that seemingly innocent message in the middle of the night or disappear for days, leaving you wondering, what just happened? And bam, they're stuck in your head. The secret? Emotional oscillation. One day they're present, full of compliments and attention. The next they vanish, turning cold and indifferent. The result? You're stuck in an emotional loop trying to interpret every gesture, every word like it's a puzzle. And you know what happens in the brain? A surge of adrenaline and dopamine. This emotional roller coaster is addictive. Suddenly, you're not dealing with a real person, but with the whirlwind of emotions they make you feel. And there you go. You call it passion. Now, look at yourself. Are you predictable? Always available? Always balanced? Well, here's the reality. Being constant in the beginning is the fastest shortcut to boredom. Not that stability is bad. It's essential in long-term relationships. But when you're trying to win someone over, predictability is the emotional equivalent of a boring Sunday afternoon TV show. The lesson? It's not about becoming a cheap manipulator, but understanding the power of mixing moments of intense presence with strategic absence. A bit of mystery and unpredictability can work wonders for sparking interest. And speaking of strategic absence, the next reason gets straight to the point. The principle of scarcity. Bad boys know that when something seems less available, people simply want it more. Reason 5. The principle of scarcity. Here's the raw truth. What's easy to get doesn't spark interest. And bad boys, clever as they are, play this principle like masters of emotional chess. They know that the less available they seem, the more valuable they'll be. It's practically the golden rule of attraction. High demand creates desire. Have you noticed how these guys always seem to be busy, packed with commitments, or just living their lives? They give the impression that they have priorities, and spoiler alert, you're not the only one. This makes them appear rare, almost like a collector's item. The result? People switch to competition mode, wanting to secure their attention before it disappears. The trick is that this scarcity might not even be real. Maybe he's lounging on the couch, binge-watching a series, but the perception he creates is that his time is precious. And that's what matters. He never gives 100% of his attention. There's always that feeling that he's holding something back, leaving a taste of, I want more. Now, stop and think. Are you the type who responds to messages in record time? Who cancels plans at the first suggestion of a date? Who's always there, ready, like a 24-hour diner? Well, know that this limitless availability is making you seem more common than sliced bread. The lesson is simple. Your time is valuable, so treat it as such. This doesn't mean ignoring or playing cheap games, but showing that you have an interesting life, full of things happening. When you seem busy, people automatically value you more. Scarcity isn't about disappearing. It's about creating the impression that accessing you is a privilege, not a right. And speaking of privileges, bad boys also master the art of giving attention just right. They know how to listen, or at least pretend to, and that's another fundamental piece of the puzzle. Let's dive into that now. Reason 6. The ability to listen, or pretend to listen. The bad boy, and his almost supernatural ability to turn a mundane conversation into an unforgettable experience. But here's the bitter truth. He's not genuinely interested in what you're saying. He just masters the art of seeming interested. And believe me, that's more than enough for most people. The recipe? Simple. An intense look, maybe tilting his head a bit, and a few strategic nods. He'll drop lines like, I see, and then, or, wow, that must have been tough for you. And just like that, the person across the table is convinced they've found the most understanding soul on the planet. Meanwhile, in his head, he might be replaying the last goal of the championship or planning his next strategic disappearance. Why does it work? Because people love talking about themselves. Finding someone who seems to listen attentively is like finding an oasis in the desert of indifference. The bad boy knows this and uses this illusion of interest to create a fake but incredibly effective connection. He makes you feel special. And in the game of seduction, being special is all you need to be. And where does the nice guy usually mess up? He confuses listening with fixing. The person shares something, and he immediately pulls out an action plan like, you should do this, or I can help you with that. But no one asked for a tutorial. Most of the time, people just want a listener, not an emotional mechanic. The lesson is clear. Sometimes the greatest act of charm is to keep your mouth shut and listen. Don't rush to solve or give opinions. Just show that you're there, following what's being said. And if you really pay attention, congratulations, you've already surpassed the bad boy, who was just on autopilot. Now that we've unraveled how these guys manipulate emotions, connections, and perceptions, it's time for the final analysis. Let's put it all together and understand how to use these lessons to your advantage without having to sell your soul to the heartless squad. After dissecting all these tactics, confidence, mystery, indifference to rejection, creating intense emotions, scarcity, and the pseudo-art of listening, we arrive at the big question, so what? What does all this really mean? Is it a lesson on how to be irresistible or a handbook to becoming an emotional illusionist? Let's be honest, bad boys are great for the short term. They dominate the conquest game because they understand how to activate the emotional triggers that make people chase after them. But when the fireworks fade and only the next day remains, the lack of substance comes to light. After all, you can't build anything solid on manipulation and performance. They live off the moment's emotion, but are tourists in the territory of depth. And now comes the crucial point. You don't need to be a bad boy to learn from them. Yes, they know some valuable things, like the importance of confidence, self-worth, and maintaining an air of mystery. But you can use these principles in an honest and authentic way without stepping on anyone's feelings. For example, confidence. Instead of pretending, genuinely work on your self-esteem. It's more attractive to be secure in who you are than to project a facade. Mystery. You don't need to create unnecessary riddles. Just learn not to reveal everything right away. The process of discovery is part of the attraction, scarcity. Respect your time and energy. People who value you don't need manipulations to see your worth. For the women who feel attracted to bad boys, here's the challenge. Do you like him for who he is, or for the whirlwind he makes you feel? Often, the adrenaline of dealing with someone unpredictable is confused with passion. In the end, stability and reciprocity are much more satisfying than living on an emotional roller coaster. The real lesson here is balance. Use what bad boys know, but play fair. Be confident, but also vulnerable. Keep a touch of mystery, but without manipulation. And above all, create real connections based on respect and sincerity. If you're that guy who always stays on the sidelines of others' emotional stories, it's time to wake up, champ. Stop trying to be the perfect version nobody asked for and start working on the one thing that truly matters, your confidence. Apply what you've learned here, but without becoming a caricature of yourself. Because, in the end, it doesn't matter if you conquer someone if you don't have what sustains that connection genuinely. And for you who have already fallen into the emotional whirlwind of a bad boy, here's a reality slap. The problem was never you. These guys play to win a game but lose the championship. Because while you're learning and growing, they remain stuck in the same empty cycle, unable to build something that truly matters. It's like winning the scratch-off lottery and spending it all on gum. Now it's your turn to speak. Are bad boys really irresistible? Or is it just another myth we keep feeding? Have you fallen for their game? Or better yet, have you been one of them? Tell me in the comments, and don't hold back. I want to hear the whole story. Oh, and let's agree. If this content stirred something inside you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and spread the word. Because the next time you run into a bad boy putting on a show, you'll be in the audience, but with the script in your hand. Until next time.